started the live stream.
Okay. Well, hello and welcome everybody to the Hunters Woods Dogwood 2020 virtual listening session. I'm glad to see you have joined us. This session tonight is all about you and you telling us what's on your mind, what you think RA is doing well, what you think we have room for improvement in, any concerns you have. We are going to be doing a little bit of talking first though, because we want to keep you informed on what's going on in RA, but I promise you the bulk of this evening belongs to you and we welcome your thoughts. Along with me tonight is our CEO, Hank Lynch. Don't believe any other board members have joined in yet. I expect that they will, but we do have some of our senior leadership team aboard tonight. We have Larry Butler, our COO. We have Cam Adams, who is our Director of Covenants Administration. And we have Chris Shoemaker, who is our Senior Capital Projects Operations Manager. So, thank you all for joining us tonight. So tonight is the third of 5 member listening sessions we'll be conducting over the next 4 weeks. In the past, as I said, we've conducted these live in each of the districts, but of course that's not possible this year. You're welcome to attend all sessions, by the way, not just the one for your own district. It can be very informative to do that. So to hear from you, Hank is going to take a little time, but before I turn this over to Hank, I want to address something that is probably on all of our minds tonight, and that is the unfortunate fatal shooting that happened last Thursday in Hunters Woods near the intersection of Colts Neck and Glade. I did hear from a couple of members today expressing their concerns about lighting in the area, both street lighting and pathway lighting, in the interest of keeping our area safe. I will say that I doubt if any pathway lighting or additional street lighting would have prevented the most recent crimes in Hunters Woods Dogwood. But as I said, we do want everybody to feel safe. Street lighting is not within our purview. That is a county issue. So I would suggest that you contact Supervisor Alcorn's office to express your concerns about street lighting. Pathway lighting is a tricky issue. There are a lot of balls to juggle in the air about that. We've been working on getting some pathway lighting behind part of the Hunters Woods Village Center for several years now. There are a lot of things that we have to satisfy when we think about pathway lighting. For that reason, we have not adopted a standard for pathway lighting in Reston. As I said, we want to keep the area safe, but we also have all these wonderful wooded pathways and trails, and we certainly don't want to throw up a whole lot of lighting there. We also have to be concerned about neighbors who are very close to these trailways, many of whom have objected to the prospect of having lighting that close to their homes. And as a recognized biophilic community, we have to be very cognizant of making sound environmental decisions as well. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and of course, budgetary issues. In the past, we have had a pedestrian pathway lighting working group. I don't know if that's something that we might resurrect. I suspect some of you joining in tonight will have some opinions about this, but it's not an easy solution. It's unfortunate that in less than a year and a half, we have had a couple of homicides in Hunters Woods, but Again, I'm not sure that additional pathway lighting period would solve that. And speaking for myself, I don't think there's any place in the world where I would feel safe walking alone in the woods at night. I mean, there are just some things that you have to be prudent about. Anyway, I just didn't want this evening to go by without acknowledging that. And this is going to allow me to segue into something that I was going to bring up anyway, and that is the Hunters Woods Neighborhood Coalition. I don't know how many of you listening are familiar with the Neighborhood Coalition, but if you're not, I want to tell you about it. This is something that was put together by Cornerstones, the good people there. It's a group of residents and nonprofits and merchants in the Hunters Woods neighborhood. And their mission is to make it a safe and welcoming place for people to live and work and visit. So I urge you to get involved with the coalition. They meet quarterly, haven't met since before COVID, but I suspect there will be a meeting before the year is over. And if you were interested in getting involved in attending those meetings, later on in the meeting, I will give you my contact information. Please send me your email and I'll be happy to get you on that notification list. It's a good place to discuss some of these issues. And also our crime prevention police officers in the rescue district attend those meetings as well. So I urge you to get involved in that. So now I wanted to, before Hank takes over, or Hank, do you want to talk now? And then I'll go over the Zoom things.
Sure. I just will briefly bring everybody up a little bit up to speed. First and foremost, it's for all of us, it's been a very challenging year. COVID-19, both personally and from an organizational perspective, I think is really stressed all of us. But through this, I am very proud of this staff, the staff that you all have here at Reston Association. They are still mowing the grass, pruning the trees, repairing the trails, opening pools and tennis. They're with creative ways to offer some camps. I'll share a wonderful note we got from an individual about one of our camps in a box, and they're working on covenants and they're paying the bills, and they're doing all the things they're doing. Like many of you who are working remotely or telecommuting, it's a very challenging time, and I remain very, very proud of them, and I remain proud of the work that Reston Association is doing. Tonight, I think it's really important for all of you that are online to really share with us some of the things you think might be important for 2021. We're really in the first half of finishing or planning the 2021 budget. So getting information from you tonight of what's important to you would be very helpful. So please keep that in mind if you have any suggestions or comments around that. To date, just to kind of bring you up to speed of what projects we've been working on in the Hunter Woods Dogwood District. There's several things that we've completed to date, and that includes some of these things aren't very exciting, but they're absolutely essential. We've done the Glade Room roof replacement. We've done the Hunter Woods pool white coating and tile and coping. We probably should name these better, but we call it footbridge number 79 and footbridge number 81. They've all been replaced. We've partially completed footbridge number 80. And we should have better names for it, for us just calling them numbers. But
they're all in polo fields, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. So we've got one of the bridge partially completed, and it'll be done before the end of the year. The Hunter Woods ball field concept design is been worked on, and that's moving along very nicely. Larry Butler is doing that very nice, working on that and leading that. And scheduled for the fall is done is the Glade Pool site lighting, Glade Pool retaining wall inspection and repairs, the Hunters Woods pool electrical panel replacement, and the Butterfly Meadow Overlook Deck. That'll all be done before the fall is completed. When you add all this up, the investment in the district is about $380,000. So money well invested. The other thing you should keep in mind is later this year, before we get too far into December, we're launching a new assessment online billing for assessments. It will require a few steps on your part. So pay attention. Mike Leone and the communication staff will be sharing more information around that as we get a little bit closer to that part of the season. And as I said, it's been stressful, but it's been really wonderful from a staff's perspective in that we've been getting really wonderful notes of encouragement and thank yous. Now, I'll share just two of them with you. One, because we couldn't offer camps this year, physical camps, we were able to come up with an idea of resting camps in a box. I don't think it was uniquely ours. I know others have done it, but some of the best ideas are ideas you get from others, or quote unquote, you steal from others. And this one was called Reston's Camps in a Box. And here's a note to the staff member who's running it. It said, "Hi, Catherine. We got your box today and are loving it. I'm typing this from the waterfront of Lake Anne, where we are currently trying to find out whether turkey works as fish bait." My daughter's reaction to the arrival of the camp box today was this. She stated, "It's like they made this box just for me," she said. "It's full of things I love. Huge thank yous to you and your team." And then one that really, I think, maybe a lot of us have experienced. This was a note from one of our tennis instructors, and she stated, "I've had so many positive interactions with people during this tough time, but one really stuck out. Once we started tennis lessons, a mother called to sign up her son, who has been struggling with not being able to be around his friends. She was so thankful we were going to start smaller group lessons. I signed her son up for our orange ball class, which is the beginner class. And she called me last week to thank me for a wonderful class and said that she hasn't seen him smile, her son smile, and be this happy in a long, long time. She registered him for all the fall season's classes as well." So despite all the stress and all of that, there's a lot of good things happening. There's wonderful people here in Reston, and a lot of good things are still going on. So if you see one of the staff members, please pat them on the back and tell them you thank and appreciate what they're doing. I can tell you, I remain very, very proud of them and very, very proud of the work that you're doing. And with that, Karen, back to you.
Thank you so much, Hank. Appreciate that. Love to hear all that positive feedback from the membership. Okay, so we're getting close to the point where I'm going to open the floor to you. But before we open the Zoom platform, here's some general tips for you. If some of you are probably very experienced Zoomers by now, but in case you're not, here's the protocol for tonight. If you would like to speak, use the raise hand button on your Zoom console. I believe you access that by clicking on the little caret to the right of the participants icon. If you do not wish to speak, but you have a comment, you can type in your question into the chat box, and the moderator will read your question so that we can all respond to it. For time considerations, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you have additional comments or questions, hold them until everybody who has wanted to speak has had the opportunity to do so before speaking again. Okay, so before we do that, I would like to take a few minutes to share some information with you about the Reston Comprehensive Plan Task Force and its importance to the future of Reston. Some of you may already know this, but I will say it anyway, for those of you who don't. So in January 2020, the first motion that our new supervisor, Hunter Mill District Supervisor Walter Alcorn made was to initiate a process for additional study and community input on the 2017 Reston Amendment of the Fairfax County Comprehensive Plan. So the review and the community engagement processes are expected to take about 12 to 18 months. And residents will be able to provide feedback about the plan during public task force meetings. They're all public. And if you missed them the night of, you can access them on the Fairfax County website, the Hunter Mill Board of Supervisors website. So they formed a 21-member task force, and our representations on that task force are our Secretary and North Point District Director, John Mooney. Our CEO, Larry Butler, is an alternate, and they are both involved in this process. And at the conclusion of this work, the task force will provide a report to the Planning Commission and to the County Board of Supervisors, to the whole board. You can reference the Resident Association resources available on the website, as I said, and as well as information on the Fairfax County website. If you go to the homepage on our website, across the top, you will see a tab that says comprehensive plan. Just click on that and you'll see the updates. And additionally, at our monthly full board meetings, Director Mooney gives a little recap of what has happened in the month prior on the task force. So urge you to stay on top of that because, as I said, it's very important to the future of Reston. Okay. So I think I got out of order a little bit in my script. So I think it's now time to open this all up to you. So please, as I said, just raise your hand or send a chat message and you will be acknowledged by our wonderful Christina. Do we have anybody wishing to speak yet? We have some chats, I see.
Oh, it looks like iPhone would like to speak. I'm unmuting that person.
Okay.
Hi there, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, my name's Heather. First,
Heather, if you wouldn't mind holding for 1 second, I just wanted to acknowledge, which I should have done before, that one of our board members has joined the meeting, our at-large director, Sarah Salvarez de Souza. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us. Okay, Heather, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say how grateful I was for the pools being open this summer. And I was so impressed with how well it was handled. And I sincerely appreciate that they kept the numbers to a safe limit so that I felt like I could actually go and utilize it and maintain my 6 feet of distance. And it just made such a huge difference for me because I'm somebody who lives up by myself. And so to be able to go and be around people but feel safe and be outside, it was absolutely the highlight of this whole thing and helped me get through it so much. So I do want to say that it made such a difference. And the only thing, you know, that I really, I do love the pools, and it was a big reason why I bought in Reston. And something, if we ever get back to normal, that I would love is to continue to have more adult pool time or pool days and to be open later. I feel like I've lived here 11 years, and every year I feel like it gets less and less days and times for adult only time, and then the pools are shutting earlier. And I understand that it's a staffing issue with guards. I used to be in pool management myself, and I understand all of that. But I feel like sometimes there might be a way to better manage the staff so that there could be more late openings and maybe more adult days.
Thank you, Heather. First of all, thank you for the very positive feedback. And also, Hank, were you about to respond to did I hear somebody start to respond about the extending the adult pool times? Or did I just hear?
I'll just comment that I know we're looking into it. And thank you, Heather, for the positive comments. I know the staff really did appreciate it. You're not the only person who suggested that. And I know that I think it's one of the things that worked out well this year by giving a little bit more adult swim time or lap time or having people register for it. So we're looking at that. And so it's a great suggestion. And we'll look again, how we can keep the pools open a little bit longer. It more than it is a dollars and cents issue, but as you're right, we need to look at things a little bit more, a little bit different eyes, and see if we can't have the pool stay open a little bit longer. So great suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Hank. Any more comments?
So next I have Mike with a raised hand.
Hello, yes, thank you very much for calling on me, and thank you for holding tonight's meeting. So I live in the neighborhood across from where last week's murder occurred, and the tunnel here, which is tunnel number 6349, has not had lighting for over 6 months, and our HOA has requested multiple times to have those lights replaced or fixed. We were told that the power was cut at some point, or that the power there's no power lines to the tunnel. And I think it was probably when they were working on the intersection of Glade and Colts Neck. But whoever ended up managing that project, I'm trying to understand how we had lights in that tunnel for 40 years, and now those are gone. So we just have an even darker area out there. And that tunnel is about 30 feet from where the murder occurred. So we're hoping perhaps somebody can find a way to get a solution so that we're not going through the entire winter over a year without lights in the tunnel here in our small community.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that. Yep. Please contact me and I will follow up on that for you. I know Dominion Electric has been doing something at that intersection because they left a whole lot of equipment there. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I was not aware that the lights, the lines to the tunnel had been cut. So this is the first I'm hearing about it, and I'm glad to know about it now. So I will be talking about and posting my contact information, but I would appreciate hearing from you so I can follow up and let you know what's going on.
Yeah, I will look into it first thing tomorrow morning as well. I was not aware that Dominion or one of the electric companies had cut the electric line. We'll look into that. Thank you.
Thank
Karen, Karen, we have a comment in the chat from Mary Ellen Spencer. Can you comment on the budget for path lighting and when we can expect that to be implemented? And then a second question, also to compensate for the lack of lighting on both paths and streets, is there a possibility for stepped up police presence, particularly near where the recent murder occurred? So 2 questions. The first is budget for the pathway lighting and when we can expect it to be implemented. The second is stepped up police presence.
Hi, Mary Ellen. We communicated via email today. Thank you for joining tonight. In answer to the budget question, not this year. And as far as what the cost would be, it depends on a whole lot of things. Larry Butler, would you like to jump in here? Are you with us?
Unmute first. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it, where the available power is, if we have to go on any private property for easements to either run the power or to put the lights. I know some of that area is RA property, but there are other parts that go onto cluster property. And then of course we have to go through the design review board as well. And that's sometimes an interesting process with lighting. There's a high degree of sensitivity for lighting in Reston, both for and against. So there are a lot of factors, and we can certainly investigate that area. But right now our priority is, as Karen said earlier, is the section that we've been working on already over behind Hunters Woods Village Center. And that has taken quite a long time to get that going.
Thank you, Larry. And Mary Ellen, yes, in your second question about stepping up the police presence, yes, indeed, I would be surprised if that's not already happening, but our crime prevention officers, Officer Harita and Officer Defoe, are our people to address this, and I will contact them tomorrow. And as I mentioned earlier, they are always involved in the Hunters Woods Neighborhood Coalition meetings as well. So they're really terrific, and they're very very involved in trying to keep Reston as safe as possible for everybody. So I will contact them tomorrow and make sure that they are doing that to as much as their staffing will allow. Hope that
Karen,
answers.
next we have Galaxy S9.
Hi, my name is Lisa. Sorry, I wasn't able to log in time to join the meeting. I want to talk about the pools as well for the summer with the sign up. So while it worked for a certain group of people, for young families, it wasn't very convenient because the decisions to go to the pool are usually made for young families like 3 hours before we want to go or 72 hours in advance, and forcing us to make a reservation for a pool 10 days in advance made it very difficult for anyone with a young family to use the pool. So I was successful. So to give you an idea of how this worked for us, like I had to set reminders on my calendar at 8 a.m. or 3 p.m. or whenever it was I wanted to use the pool 10 days prior to remember to go in and sign up. And then, oftentimes I couldn't even make use of those reservations because with young families, knowing what you're doing 10 days in advance is just not usually how it works. And I did email the aquatics director about it and aquatics and put in a thing that like young families, we needed more flexibility with this. And they said they would take it into consideration, but that never happened. And people offered the alternative. Well, a lot of times people don't show up for their reservations, which was true, but you can't show up with like a 7-year-old kid and say, we're going to the pool and then show up there and not be able to go in. It just doesn't work that way with young families. That you can't just show up to a pool and say, maybe we'll get in, maybe we won't. So that was just a little disappointing for us. I do appreciate that they were open and everything, and I know everyone tried hard, but for young families, it just wasn't the best solution for us. And I wish they would have listened to the feedback and tried to do something, even if it was just like, adult only times. Like it would have been nice if one of the pools was kids only times and we'll take the first 50 people that show up or something like that. It would have been way more convenient for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Of course, yeah, this was something that we had to sort of figure out on the fly how to do this once we were allowed to reopen the pools. Hank, can you speak more specifically on this?
Exactly. I mean, we were doing this on the fly, but I like your suggestion. Let me, I will be meeting with Larry and the aquatics folks later this week, and if you have any other suggestions on how you thought we might be able to make it better, both for adults and both for families, please email me. My email's hlynch@reston.org, and we're open to any positive suggestions to how to make this better for all of our members. So, but we'll definitely bring this to their attention and see if there's something we can't do. So the one suggestion of families only time might be able to work. Let's see what we can do with it. We'll run it up the ladder with the folks in aquatics. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Hank, and thank you. And before we continue, I want to acknowledge 2 other board members who also happen to be officers who have joined us. RA President and South Lakes District Director Julie Bitzer is now with us, and RA Treasurer and at-large Director Bob Petrine is with us. And Mike, you didn't get introduced. Mike Leone is our Director of Communications and Marketing. So, okay, go ahead.
All right. So next question from Deborah Stapel. Do you know if the killing was gang related, a domestic dispute, a robbery gone bad, or question?
I do not know for a fact. Mike, you may be more up to date. I just checked the Fairfax County PD website and there was no new information. It's just under investigation by the Major Crimes Division. I had heard speculation that it was a domestic dispute, but I don't know that that's true. If anybody else knows more than I do, please say something.
All right, and there's a, let's see, Deborah also suggestion for pools, do it like Hamilton, be able to reserve some slots on advance, but also hold back some slots for first come, first serve.
When you said do it like Hamilton, Deborah, I thought you meant we should, like do it rap. I don't, my brain went to that Hamilton, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for your suggestion, Deborah. We'll
And
take
it would,
note of that.
and actually Galaxy S9 made a follow-up comment. Thank you. Unfortunately, I can't unmute. If we had to do this again, we would want to just show up and we take the first 25 people at a time, first come, first serve. So that's a suggestion. Apparently, Deborah added that Hamilton sets aside a lottery for $10 a day of tickets.
Yes, and of course, I should have made that connection. Thank you for saying that, Deborah. You were talking about that, Hamilton. Okay.
Karen, next we have Lynn Brown.
Okay.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Lynn.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am good, thank you. So I wanted to commend Mike McNamara, who does all our trails. So thank you for our 2 numbered bridges and the knowing that the other one's going to be finished by the end of the year. Mike is so attentive, and we've had stormwater retention issues and flooding, which we were incapable of getting the county to move on, but Mike managed to do it. So that's brilliant. But I'd raise another question. Our trails in Polo Fields actually border onto Stratton Woods Park. So one trail is very clearly a county trail until it joins our trails. And the other trail, it's not clear whether it's a county trail or an RA trail. And, what's been very clear to me, because I use them a lot, is that since COVID, there is a lot of, I suspect, non-member use. I see a lot of people coming over from Foxmill Estates and coming in from Stratton Woods Park. I've seen people parking on Coltsbrook and actually getting their dogs out of the car to walk on our trails. And I'm assuming if you're walking your dog, you're not actually driving from one of our homes, which can get on the trail always within a quarter of a mile. So I have a more budgetary question going forward. I mean, given that, plus given all the new developments that are going on in the TSAs, etc., what is the board policy in terms of usage of our public goods? RA members pay for the maintenance of all of these trails. Clearly, they're open to anybody and everybody. If the percentage of people paying RA dues to people not paying RA dues changes with this development, what happens to the maintenance budgets, etc., and the usage of the trails?
Thank you, Lynn. That's a good question, and one that comes up frequently. It's a tough one. I mean, it's short of having, somebody standing guard checking people's identification and their addresses at the trailheads. I don't know of a way to keep non-members off the trails. There is no policy currently about that. This is why with all this new development, we really make every effort to get them to join the association. But of course, that will not always be the case. And I don't really have a solution for that. If Larry, you're more involved in, working with the developers and getting them to join the association. Is there anything you would like to throw in here?
Well, just that we've been successful with some of the for sale units, Seacus, Toll Brothers, Pulte. We had a commitment from Pulte, though I'm not sure what's happening with the project that was actually across Sunrise Valley from Polo Fields for the new townhomes, which I thought were going to be started by now, but I don't know what's happened with that. And in each case, we have, requested and gotten either a capital contribution, or in the case of Seacus, we've gotten land and so forth. The impact of additional users on the pathways is, at least with COVID, there's more people, so practicing safe social distancing may be a little tougher. But the real impact is not, wear and tear on the pathways. The wear and tear on the pathways comes from water, illegal vehicle use and things like that. And so it's really the trash pickup. There's additional trash on the pathways because of those users. We'd like for them to be a little more respectful in that, when they want to use our pathways. But that's really the only kind of, I'd say, fiscal impact directly. And it would be very hard to quantify, again, because we don't know who is a member and who is not a member. They're actually using our pathways. And we're not going to suggest microchipping them or anything.
Yeah, I mean, if I could come back in, I think I was raising the question, illustrating with the pathways, but I think it's broader than that for all our common usage things. But with Pulte, Pulte was very good, and it met with our community on multiple occasions. And one of the things we said to them was that they needed to join RA. So, we put that forward and asked that they do that as one of our conditions. Which brings me to the thing of, can we work with a supervisor's office that say, if you build within Reston, the assumption is that your community becomes part of RA, as opposed to, a more explicit choice, that we make it the norm rather than a decision to be made.
Again, unfortunately, it's up to the owner. The county nor RA can force somebody to subject their property to the covenants. I think there would probably be a legal battle if that were to unfold. And so it has been really the work of, sitting down with the development community, encouraging them, telling them and showing them the benefits and so forth. And as I said earlier, we've gotten good traction on the for sale units, very much less so on the rental units. But again, nobody can force a property owner to subject themselves to the covenants.
Hope that helps, Lynn. If you're still there. Lynn, are you still there?
Karen, we have one more quick question from Deborah Stapel, and she's inquiring as to, do we know when the new Wegmans will be opening?
Is it 2022, I believe, or is it next year?
I believe it's 2022.
Yeah, that's what I had thought too. Looking forward to that.
Karen, next we have a question from Renee.
Hey. Hi, Renee.
Hi, Karen. First of all, I too want to applaud RA for the good work they did during COVID, but also on behalf of all of us over here near the Pony Barn, even though it was a long project, it turned out really well, and RA did an excellent job. And thanks especially to Chris and Larry for their help. And of course, yours too, Karen, coming through for us. But I have a question for RA. I think it's pretty clear to those of us who live in the south end of Reston, the Hunters Woods, Dogwood area, that this area of Reston is considered less desirable than others. Now, that is a perception, it's not reality, but we see it all the time. As soon as the murders happen, we see all the comments from people about this area of Reston. Never hear it about anywhere else. Maybe these things just don't happen anywhere else, but we never hear that, oh, the north side isn't a good place to live, or Lake Ann for that matter, anywhere else. And so I guess it's a question. I don't have any comment other than a question beyond what I just said. I would like to know if RA, we are all part of Reston. We all pay our association dues and participate no matter where we live. And it seems to me that RA could consider the fact that we have a problem, a perception problem, but to some extent a reality problem as well. What can RA do? What have they done? What could they do to try to lift this side of Reston? And I don't know exactly what that means or what it would look like, but maybe getting some folks together to talk about it. Or has RA even tried to do anything? You know, are there festivals over on this end of town? Are there things that go on that could bring more people from Reston to see that, yeah, this really is a nice place to live. It's really not the worst part of Reston. But anyway, you know what I'm getting at. And I would just like to suggest that perhaps RA could play a bigger role, some kind of a different role, not just fixing up things and putting in lighting, but some other way to lift this perception of Reston to a more positive place.
Thanks, Renee. As you probably know, I mean, this was one of the reasons that I was interested in running for the board is to help raise that profile. And that's all why I've been so happy to see things moving forward, like the Butterfly Meadow Overlook and the repurposing of the Hunters Woods ball field. It is my fervent wish that once that repurposing is done and once that overlook goes in with all the attendant educational information, that they will do a lot to attract more and more people to South Reston and Hunters Woods Dogwood in particular. That said, I mean, I will, you know, as the Hunters Woods Dogwood District Representative, I will continue to work and to try to think up ways. I know we were talking about a lot of things before COVID hit, things that could attract people, some ideas that all of us put forth and that Hank came up with. And, you know, I don't want to blame everything on COVID, but it really sort of, you know, made things this year very difficult in terms of moving forward with any kinds of new initiatives. But I foresee, yeah, I would love to see a festival, maybe in the parking lot at Hunters Woods Village Center. Once the ball field repurposing is done, I would like to maybe see you know, some outdoor yoga classes, which I know they've been doing this summer up at Brown's Chapel, but a lot of ways to attract more people. And you know, as you and I know very well, Renee, we're going to work on the people at Eden's to make some improvements at the Village Center, which is not an RA issue. But if anybody else would like to add to what I've already said, but I hear you. And it is not a reality, but it is a perception, which is unfortunate.
Karen, I'll just share that we, when we conducted the Brandon market study, we've gotten an enormous amount of feedback from the entire community about what people were looking for. And again, I don't want to blame everything on COVID, but there were plans that the Parks and Recs Department had come up with. One was, and again, we can't claim that we created these ideas. We saw them in other communities. And one was literally, it was called Tapping the Trails, which we're going to do again in 2021 if COVID will ever give us a break. And that's literally getting people and moving an event around to all of these special spots in all over Reston, because not everybody knows of all the wonderful trails and wonderful spots in this southern part of our community or in the northern part of our community. So we were looking to offer events that would attract people to move throughout our community and experience all of our trails and all of our parks. So stay tuned for that. It will get implemented as soon as 2021 if COVID-19 will ever give us a break, and I believe it will. We hear you loud and clear, and we're working on it, and we agree with you. So.
Thank you. That's good. That's good to hear. And thank you, Karen, for all the good work you've been doing as well. You've really been engaged, and that gives us a great deal of hope. I know you'll get some good results.
Thank you, Renee. It's what I'm here for.
Karen, we had a comment from Janet. A while ago, there was some interest in having a farmer's market in Hunter's Woods parking lot. I don't know what happened there. Why did it never move forward?
Nor do I. Does anybody here know anything about that? I will look into it. I'm sure the Neighborhood Coalition knows something about it. I'm seeing,
Oh, there's a hand up from Rick Hamilton.
yep. Hi, Rick. Rick, are you there? Is there a muting issue, Rick? Rick, we can't hear you if you're talking, so unmute if you can.
Rick is unmuted. Can you hear us, Rick? There's another hand up from Lynn Brown.
Technical difficulties. I'm sure he'll come back. Yep, more raised hands.
Yeah, I think Rick is new to Zoom, so we're texting back and forward on how it works. So I think he's having some audio issues.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's not new to Zoom as a listener, but maybe as a participant he is.
So, but I would ask another question though while we're waiting.
Well, we need to take care of people who have not spoken yet. So if there's any of those, and then I'll be glad.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Anybody else who wishes to speak? I think, Mike, did I see some new chat comments come in?
I've already read the ones that have come in recently.
Okay.
You did get a thank you very much for holding these sessions from Deborah Stoffel.
Okay. I thought I saw one other comment, but maybe not. Okay, Lynn, then you're on.
Oh, actually, I apologize. There was one that I missed here. Back a little ways up from Jodi Isaac. While the lakes in Ruston are beautiful and wonderful amenity, the vast majority of lakefront property is private, and there are many, many signs indicating private property for clusters on dock-like structures and other lake access areas. Clearly, the people who live on the lakes, basically obtain the biggest benefit of the lakes, and the reasons they choose to live there. I have nothing against cleaning up the environment, but believe strongly that the lakeside residents should pay the lion's share of lake cleanup.
You know, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Julie, because I know this is in your wheelhouse.
Okay, let me get my video back up. So I strongly believe that the lakes, and in fact they are, all of the lakes are owned by all the Ruston Association members. And one of the items that both the last working group on lakes, boats, docks, as well as the Parks Recreation Advisory Committee we're looking at is how do we provide for more and better optimization for those who don't live on the lake, but would like to be able to have better access, easier access to the lakes for hand carry boats and whatever. So that is very much part of what we're looking at as as part of the recreational facilities working group as they explore what are the amenities that we have in our community and how do we make those all available to those who would like to use those. So we do have that. I saw recently some comments from folks who said how much they enjoy being able to look at the lakes on, from the trails and vantage points, or being sitting by the lake. So Lake Ann is one of our lakes, and that certainly is well served by the community and the general public that is surrounding it. And I believe I'm going to put Hank, I'm going to toss the ball over to Hank for a moment. I believe that we've been looking at some things that we might be able to provide as events that might be held on lakes and optimize in that fashion.
We've been looking at one of the things we've really looked into, again, going back to the Brandon Market study, which we got an enormous amount of feedback from so many people in the community. There was a lot of folks that said, hey, we don't live on the lake, but we'd like the lakes, but would like to have access to them. We heard them loud and clear. And again, there's programming ideas that we're looking to put on the lakes. There was one that may come up for 2021. And I don't want to throw the idea or share the idea in case it's not feasible to come up to actually implement. But there's an enormous amount of ideas and suggestions that have been shared with us so that the entire community can experience and enjoy the lakes beyond just the folks who have own homes or are directly connected to the lake. So again, stay tuned for that. There was going to be some things implemented in 2020 if COVID-19 hadn't slowed us down. But we're looking to continue to implement those ideas as we move forward.
Thank you, Hank and Julie. Yes, and thank you, Jodi, for your question. And yeah, I mean, although there are no lakes in Hunters Woods Dogwood, of course. But I frequently take walks around the lakes, and I consider the 4 lakes just part of Reston, and that's what I bought into. So, but I applaud the notion that Hank is trying to move forward, and Julie, about coming up with ways for all the members to be able to participate in one way or another in enjoying the lakes. So thank you for that question, Jodi.
Karen, Lodi Isaac also added, is it possible to expand lake access?
I'm sorry, it's Lodi. Go ahead. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Is it possible to expand lake access and also ensure those clusters that are on the lakes pay more?
That was pretty much the same question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a comment from Janet. This is the first time I participated in a listening session and really appreciate that high touch opportunity. Is there a regular schedule for these sessions?
We have tried to do them every year. For some reason in 2019, it did not happen, but I know there was, I conducted Hunters Woods Dogwood in 2018 at Southgate Community Center, I believe it was. Mike Leone, you're probably, is there anything on the calendar for next year yet?
They're not on the calendar yet for next year, but they will be. And typically we do them in the September, early October timeframe to connect them up with the budget process each year, so the board can actually get member feedback on what's important to members, so they can take that into consideration as part of the budget process.
Yeah, I think they're really useful and helpful, and I hope we can continue them annually. Hopefully by next September, we won't have COVID restrictions. Please. Okay. Did we ever get Rick Hamilton back? Are there anybody else wishing to speak?
Rick, you are unmuted if you're able to speak your question.
Lynn, are you still there? Lynn Brown? She's probably.
Yes, I am. I'm texting Rick saying you're unmuted. Try speaking.
Okay, or maybe he can text you his question or comment.
Well, I think he's gone into system preferences and whatever, and I'm like, you shouldn't need to do that. But maybe I'll throw in my other question.
Yeah, if there's nobody else waiting, go ahead.
Yeah, I was responding because Mike had asked for more questions. So, so when the last comprehensive plan was done, at the nth stage, so to speak, they added in the concept of a grade separated interchange at Fairfax County Parkway and Sunrise Valley Drive. For those who don't know what a grade separated interchange is, think of something like Fair Lakes or Eldon Street and Fairfax County Parkway. It's some way that instead of having traffic lights, there's some other form of junction with a flyover or what have you. So this was just snuck in. There was no discussion with the community, and RA didn't take it up either and didn't notice it was in there. So now it is in the comprehensive plan and it doesn't tend to get discussed. In the Reston Network Advisory Group that discussed the roads and the payments and whatever else, it was taken as a given. And in fact, the last CEO of Reston actually said when we were discussing the traffic flows that even though the Reston Parkway, Sunset Hills and Sunrise Valley is just as bad as Fairfax County Parkway and Sunrise Valley, that you couldn't do anything like that on Reston Parkway because it would fundamentally change the nature of Reston, and therefore all traffic north-south should be pushed over onto Fairfax County Parkway, and it would be all right to do it there. Now, needless to say, my community doesn't agree with that because it would mean we potentially have access ramps and lighting and all sorts of things outside our bedroom windows. So as the comprehensive plan meetings are going ahead with the supervisor, I would like to know where the RA members stand, whether they will raise this issue for discussion, and where they stand in terms of traffic flows for Reston. Is their belief that traffic should flow north-south on Fairfax County Parkway, albeit that will cause an issue for our community? Or is it that all parts of Reston are equally protected from this type of development?
Larry, as an alternate to the comprehensive plan task force, I'm gonna punt this one to you. Has it been discussed yet?
Well, so I was not at the last meeting when I was on vacation. I haven't caught up with John Mooney yet about that because I think FC.DOT did make a presentation at that last meeting. And I don't, of all the task force discussions thus far, we haven't gotten that far into the, into kind of design stuff. I mean, they were really talking about the planning principles that are going to come out of the task force process. And this thing is going to go on for a long time. So Lynn, my suggestion is, participate in those meetings. They're, almost every 2 weeks, typically on a Monday night, 7 to 9. They generally don't go any past 9, which is a great model for meetings. I'll just throw that out there. Just keep you and your neighbors involved in that, because it's a very long process. Transportation is a big deal. And the task force at this point hasn't been asked specifically about, like a specific intersection improvement. We're not nearly at that level yet.
And I know, Lynn, I know you and Rick are frequently attend the county transportation meetings, and I assume also the task force meetings. Yes.
The other suggestion I would
Yes.
make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Rick and I are both attending these comprehensive plan meetings with the supervisor. But my question is, in a sense, it's just related to where our support base is, because at the RNAG, it was very clear that Reston Association was not in agreement with our community. I suspect because quite often people don't realize we are part of Reston. That's quite often the case. And obviously this is a complicated issue because, you know, Reston residents want to be able to move around freely and do it without traffic jams. So, you know, there's trade-offs. So my interest is knowing where RAs stand on this type of issue.
Yeah, I don't know that I can answer that. I would encourage you, if you don't already do so, though, to join and ultimately go to the MTAC meetings, the Multimodal Transportation Advisory Committee meetings, because they're the ones who put together the report, and I chastise them for omitting polo fields, but they can't, you know, they couldn't cover everything in that report, but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, short of doing a survey, I don't know how we would measure how all of Reston Association feels about that issue.
And the other thing I'd add too, Lynn, the October 8th meeting for MTAC is an open forum on transportation issues. And what they're really after are comments on ROFAB, the recently approved Reston on Foot and Bike report. But they will, you know, it's essentially an open forum. So that is October 8th at 6:30. And I think the Zoom link, if it's not already up on our calendar, it may be soon.
Okay, that sounds good, because we've tried to go to the MTAC before. I think last time we went, it got cancelled pre-COVID. We turned up for it. But yeah, because we have, I mean, you know, you said that they ignored our area, and I mean, on the report itself, I have major problems with them.
It wasn't intentional. They just couldn't address everything, and unfortunately.
Yeah, but we have major problems with the sidewalks on Sunrise Valley, which I'm already in dialogue with Shaimali at the supervisor's office trying to get addressed. So it would have been good to see those reflected in the report.
That was duly noted and conveyed.
Well, we're very
Karen,
good at speaking up.
Yes.
Karen, I believe John Pinkman has a comment that he wants to make.
Well, I see him. Hi, John.
John,
Yeah.
you're on mute.
Hi, I wanted to address a little bit more specifically the issue about paying for cleanup on the lakes. Since I serve on a number of those committees that Julie spoke of, and we've done work on lake usage. But if you look at the precedents, if you lived on the Potomac River, would you be responsible? You have waterfront property on the Potomac River, on the oceanfront property. Are you responsible for cleanups there? If you live on a private golf course community and you lived on one of the lakes there, and you live 2 blocks off of that, are you supposed to be responsible for cleaning up that portion of the lake? I sympathize with that, but there's no real precedent for that to happen, and it's probably not going to happen here in Reston. On the other hand, lakefront property owners have expenses that a lot of people don't, like water coming in their yard, and they also have to pay for bulkheads and dock issues and things like that, which of course, that's part of the deal. But I just wanted to squarely answer that question and talk about, there is really no precedent in real estate for that to happen.
Thank you for that, John. Appreciate it. Do we have anybody else wishing to speak or comment? Going once? Going twice? Don't be shy. Okay, well, if that is the end of our comments, I'm going to wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for your participation tonight, and we got some enthusiastic response and a desire to have these sessions more often than annually, which is great. Also, in case you didn't know, our board meetings are open board meetings, and you can join us as it's happening. And there is a member comments portion, which is the case at many of our committee meetings as well. So lots of ways to just keep in the know. So please don't hesitate to do that. And get a good night's sleep the night before, because our board meetings tend to run quite late. Anyway, as I said earlier, please contact me anytime. I will do my best to respond quickly. My email address is bodanton@reston.org. My phone number, you can see, you can see these both up on the screen, 703-391-7361. And I do return phone calls. I don't pick up if it's not a number I recognize, but if you leave me a voicemail, I'll call you back promptly, I promise. So the next member listening session will be the Lake Ann Tall Oaks District listening session hosted by our Lake Ann Tall Oaks District Director, Aaron Webb. That will be on Tuesday, September 29th at 7 p.m. So watch for that. You can get the Zoom link by going to our website and looking at the calendar. You can also, I think all the Zoom links have been provided on RA News, and if you don't subscribe to that, please do. Another way to keep in the know about what's going on in Reston. Yeah, Mike, so the website and RA News, or again, you can write to me if you want to attend that listening session, and I'll provide the Zoom link to you when it's known. So thank you all so much for attending this listening session, and I will continue to do my best as your representative. And I want to thank you for all your comments, and I want to thank all the senior leadership team and our board president and our RA president, Julie Bitzer, for assisting me tonight. So have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Karen. Good night.
Good night.
Night, Karen, great job.